This being your third season, it seems like you've been a lot more assertive or spicy this year.
Think so? I'm not really spicy. That's good. I feel like for me, it's just my approach. It's just coming in and just trying to be dominant in anything the team needs. And so if that gives off spicy, which I really don't think it does, I feel like I'm like kind of quiet.
Spice?
No, I just know it's spicy. But yeah, I feel like that's just been my mindset. Is just coming in and just being the player that I need to be for us. Whatever that looks like, it looks like.
What do a locker room mantra, a statement win, and a playoff berth all have in common? For the Indiana Fever, the answer is everything. Their 94-65 blowout over the Washington Mystics wasn't just another victory. It was survival, grit, and defiance wrapped into one. And right at the center of it, Aliyah Boston dropped a line that has teammates buzzing and fans desperate to know more. What exactly did she say? And why has it become the mindset fueling Indiana's playoff push without CaitlinClark and 4 other key players? Stick around, because this is bigger than basketball. If you're fired up for the playoffs, drop a Fever Playoffs in the comments.
Playoffs!
That's how we clinch, baby!
We can't! W. Playoffs!
Bow!
Yeah! Playoffs, baby!
Mitchell in transition. Lays that up and in for our first bucket of the game. Sims off the cross again into the paint, lays it up and in.
How does a playoff team lose half its rotation and still find a way to stand tall? That's been the story of the Indiana Fever this season. Their roster didn't just take a hit, it was gutted. CaitlinClark, the sophomore superstar meant to lead a new era, gone after just 13 games with a torn groin. Sophie Cunningham, out with a knee injury. Chloe BBY, gone with the same. For most teams, that's a death sentence. For Indiana, it became the ultimate test of survival.
When you think back to the beginning of the season, if someone were to tell you, like, this is where you would be, and this is your team, at the end of the season, like, genuinely, what do you think the reaction would be?
Probably no stinking way. I don't think, thinking back to the beginning of the season, that anyone would have ever foreseen it going like this.
CaitlinClark's injury was the gut punch that hit hardest. She was averaging over 16 points a game and setting a playmaking standard that made Fever fans believe the postseason wasn't just a dream, it was the expectation. So when the news broke that she was done for the year, the shock didn't just shake Indiana, it echoed across the basketball world. The fans who had packed Gainbridge Fieldhouse night after night were suddenly left wondering how this team could possibly keep pace without their brightest star. And the analysts, they didn't hesitate. Most declared the Fever's playoff hopes dead on arrival.
And if things looked like it got harder, for us it was about sticking together, and I think through everything you're able to see that, us play with joy, us play together regardless of who's on that floor.
And it wasn't just Clark. The Fever's roster turned into a revolving door, looking less like a stable team and more like a moving train that anyone could try to jump onto. 18 different players have suited up this season. Imagine taking a team photo on opening night, then halfway through realizing nearly every face in that picture has been swapped out. Odyssey Sims flying in, She Petty grabbing minutes, Aerial Powers carving out a role. It wasn't so much strategy as it was survival. And survival almost never leads to a playoff push.
For whatever reason, things happen, and you've got to continue to put your best foot forward. You got to continue to stay the course. This group has been forced to grow strong roots, and teams can go one of two ways when those things happen. You either use it to pull you together and as motivation to continue to get better and do it for one another and do it for your teammates that have been lost to injury, or it pulls some teams apart.
That's where Stephanie White's leadership changed everything. Even with her roster gutted, she never hit the panic button. Instead, she simplified the system, tightened the rotations, and drilled her team to focus on the foundation.
When I look at this group, I'm just so incredibly thankful for the type of people that we have in this locker room, for the way that they have been able to continue to stay the course and bounce back and stay together, to pull for one another, to really be flexible enough to make space for different types of teams that we've had throughout the course of the year, and to continue to put ourselves in position.
White admitted her staff had to think outside the box to maximize what little they had, but she knew pretending the adversity didn't exist would be a mistake. So she leaned into it, reminding her group that toughness was already in their DNA, both physically and mentally. The players responded. "When I look at this group, I'm just incredibly thankful for the type of people we have in this locker room," White said. "The way they've stayed the course, pulled for one another, adjusted to so many different lineups, and still found ways to put us in position." By August, the doubts had given way to something else: resilience. What was supposed to break this team became its greatest weapon. No superstar to lean on? No problem. Every woman on the roster learned to shoulder the weight. That next woman up mantra, born out of necessity, transformed into their identity. And when they carried that identity into Washington, all the toughness that had been forged through the season finally exploded into dominance. Howard off the window and the foul. Petty for three, knocks it down again. Lost the handle, gets it back, attacks the rim, and finishes. Final score: Fever 94, Mystics 65. Indiana is in. Despite all the adversity, this resilient Fever squad is heading back to the playoffs in 2025. How do you turn heartbreak into a 29-point demolition? The Indiana Fever answered that question on the road against the Washington Mystics, with a win so commanding it felt less like a basketball game and more like a statement to the entire league. This wasn't just any victory. This was the clincher. Proof that even without CaitlinClark, this team has more than one engine driving it forward. The blowout wasn't obvious early. Washington came out sharp, forcing Indiana into tough looks and trading buckets to keep it close. The Fever's offense sputtered in the first half. But then, if you were watching, you could feel the nervous tension creeping in. Washington had momentum, and with Clark, Cunningham, McDonald, BBY, and Coulson all sidelined, the question was real. Could Indiana hold its ground, or was this going to be the kind of night that slips away? Big picture, this was the moment where most teams would have folded. Too many injuries, too much turnover, too much adversity. But this Fever team, they just kept building. Tougher, more resilient, smarter. As Stephanie White put it, "We've had what feels like 7 different teams over the course of this season, but no matter what, we've stayed flexible, accountable, and found ways to put each other in positions to succeed. Step by step, we just kept moving forward." By halftime, it was still competitive. But once the third quarter hit, everything changed. Indiana didn't just slow the Mystics, they smothered them. Washington scored only 9 points in the entire frame. 9. That's not a slump, that's a stranglehold. Passing lanes shut down. Matchups contested everywhere. Suddenly, Indiana looked like the hungrier team, dominating both ends of the floor. From there, the lead exploded, past 20, past 25, peaking at 33. Washington was out of answers. Indiana was out for blood. Play after play told the story. Natasha Howard knifing through the paint, banking it high off the glass. Aerial Powers muscling inside for a bucket. Rookie All-Star Sonia Citron finishing through contact for the and one. Howard again, crafty footwork, slicing defenders, punishing mismatches. By the time the dust settled, she had poured in a game-high 17 points, bullying Washington inside and setting the tone the Fever desperately needed. Washington tried to stabilize, but Indiana never let up. Natasha Howard went right at the rim, drawing fouls and finishing inside, and when the Mystics doubled Aliyah Boston, she calmly dished it back to Howard for another easy bucket. Boston once again anchored the paint with her steady dominance, piling up another double-double, 12 points and 11 rebounds, to keep Indiana in control on both ends. When it looked like the Fever might need an extra scoring spark, Aerial Powers delivered off the bench. She poured in 15 points, added 6 rebounds, and dished out 4 assists, refusing to let the energy dip. Whether it was crashing the boards, pushing in transition, or picking passing lanes for easy layups, Powers played like a game-changer. And she wasn't alone. Lexi Hull was everywhere, diving for loose balls, pestering ball handlers, and flipping defense into transition buckets. She petty brought instant offense, drilling all 3 of her shots from deep and finishing with 13 points. Even on an off shooting night, Kelsey Mitchell still found ways to contribute, scoring 10 points and steadying the backcourt with her leadership. Why the final buzzer, the box score told the story. 5 different Fever players in double figures. That kind of balance is rare in the WNBA, but for a team missing so many stars, it was exactly what the moment demanded. Every player who stepped on the court left their mark, proving once again that Indiana's identity isn't about one name, It's about everyone buying in. Indiana didn't just beat Washington, they squeezed the life out of them. The turnover battle told the whole story. The Mystics gave it away 22 times, and the Fever punished them with 27 points off those mistakes. Meanwhile, Indiana only turned it over 6 times all night, never letting Washington grab back any momentum. It wasn't just about outscoring them. It was about draining every ounce of hope with relentless execution. The stat sheet reflected what the eye test confirmed. 5 Fever players in double figures, only 7 turnovers, 27 points off Washington's miscues. That's a blueprint for a complete team win. But the bigger question loomed. Who carries this team now that their superstar is on the sideline? Slowly, the answer has come into focus. Aliyah Boston. She hasn't just held down the paint. She's become the anchor of Indiana's entire identity. And if anyone doubted it, her words after clinching the playoff berth erased all hesitation. Boston didn't just play big. She spoke big. Asked about how this team held steady through wave after wave of injuries, she didn't flinch. She spoke about belief, about staying the course, about never letting doubt creep in. And in that moment, her voice carried the weight of a leader who had both lived the grind and pulled her team through it. For a Fever group that could have folded a dozen different times this season, Boston has become the heartbeat, and on nights like this one, you can hear it thumping louder than ever.